being like the whisperest that you'd use, and 10 being the loudest that you use. 4 through 8 should be like your regular level.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. What?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. What? Now, why did 10 become what?
Because I felt like I was trying to harness the energy of what would make me say the loudest noise. What?
What?
Yeah. If 10 is representative of what would be my loudest in this room, that's probably a word that might be it.
So you're expecting me to say something shocking?
Potentially.
You respond, what?
Like in debate club, if like, what are you talking about? You know?
That's fair. That makes sense. Are we recording? Are we rolling video right now?
We are not. So I need to hit that and that. Let me go do that.
You should hit that, David.
I'm gonna tap both these things.
David's gonna tap both of those things. In the meantime, I'm gonna tell you hi. We're still in the preamble portion right now, but this is a great time to tell you.
A black screen with our logo here with the music playing.
Ba-ba-da-ba-ba. This is the preamble portion of our podcast that we like to keep in because we want people to leave in the first 3 minutes of the podcast so they don't listen to anything else. But we just got a bunch of new equipment. So if you're thinking to yourself, man, that sound is crisp. That sound is clear. If you're watching online and you're thinking to yourself, is that 4K quality video? Well, you are correct, because that is exactly as David trips on all of the new things that we have around the studio space, a.k.a. Lucia's office. We got a new bookshelf behind us. We are ready to go with another edition of the CC podcast. David's getting his headphones on because we do that now. We monitor our sound.
Watch out, Joe Rogan.
The
coming for your
CC
spot.
experience is coming. David, are you ready?
I'm ready. Are you ready?
I'm going to say 3. You ready? 3.
I'm ready. Okay. 2.
I thought. Hold on, David.
Okay.
You literally said.
I said I'm ready as you said 3. So I guess I wasn't ready.
You weren't ready. All right. 3,
2,
1.
What?
Hi, I'm Benji,
And I'm David.
and we're best friends from college who enjoy hanging out and talking about stuff.
So we're going to do that. And hopefully you enjoy listening to it. This is the CC Podcast.
You guys are dumb.
Cheers.
Cheers. Welcome to the CC podcast, everybody. It's great to be back. It's been a little while.
It's been since
Father's Day.
Father's Day. That's right. Holy moly. Happy 4th of July.
Happy 4th of July, everyone. And speaking of the patriotism that comes along with the 4th of July, if you're watching online, you might have noticed that David and I are wearing kind of American-themed clothes. He's got an American flag on his shirt. I've got USA versus the world because this is
The Olympics.
the Olympics episode of the CC podcast. Bum bum ba-dum bum 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 bum. That was pretty.
That was improvised.
Improvised, no preparation whatsoever
No.
on that. In fact, we went to the same harmony at the same time.
We did. I know. I was like, we should have rehearsed this.
I know, but you know what? It wouldn't have been as fun.
We sounded good. Ish.
Yeah, I thought
More
it was,
than ish.
I thought it was pretty wonderful.
Okay.
This is the CC podcast.
It sure is.
And if you're listening at home,
What are you doing?
it is nonsense. We have one listener.
You have a life.
It is my mom.
And my mom.
Okay, so two listeners. Two listeners.
And our dads were on the father's
Yeah,
episode.
but they're not listening.
They probably listened to that episode and skipped over when we spoke and listened to each other
You
speak.
know, David, I looked at the analytics. We had a spike on that episode.
2 more people?
It doubled in size, our audience. But you know, in case you're new to the program, David and I are best friends from college, and we are known to just sit on the couch and have long conversations about pop culture or music or whatever's happened in the world. And we figured that we could have those same conversations just into a microphone.
With you all.
With you all. If you feel like listening, our listener out there can enjoy maybe on your car ride, or if you're sitting on the couch yourself playing video games and you want something different to listen to, here it is.
Well, if you've been following us up to this episode, it probably appears as though we're doing well because of all this equipment. Like, we've reinvested into the
have.
CC podcast.
the dollar per listener that we've put into this podcast is
Representative.
is very high. It is the start of the Olympics right now.
It is the Paris 2024 Olympics.
Yes, not the Paralympics, the Paris Olympics.
Paris, yes.
Yes. By the way, I heard a beautiful gulp just now as you took a sip of your water.
That's how good these mics
We
are.
have,
So
we
I
have
can
high
look
quality
away.
microphones. We might need to look away when we
Fair
chomp
enough.
on snacks. And
I do bring a little orange.
I think I left my orange in
Here
there.
you go.
Do you have two of them?
I do.
My dude.
I came prepared. What if I just
David.
had like a Mary Poppins oranges here?
Just constant oranges.
Sorry, the Olympics.
Yeah, the Olympics, I believe competition just started this week. The opening ceremony was yesterday. Did you watch the opening ceremony, David?
I did not actually. You know, it was when it was happening live. I think it was like 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. our time, because in Paris I think it was 6 or 7 hours ahead. So it was like evening time over there, or like late afternoon going into evening. So I was in the middle of my workday. I couldn't watch it, and I have not since gone back to watch clips afterwards.
It is, I believe it's on demand on Peacock, but I haven't watched it either.
Oh, okay.
So I mean,
So we're off to a good start
we're
here.
off to a great start.
This whole
Now-
episode is about something that we haven't even started watching yet.
Well, I looked. All of the events they start like live coverage at like 2 a.m. Must be because
Of
it's-
Paris. Probably
yeah,
8 a.m. or 9 a.m. over there.
Yeah, it's morning in Paris. And so our primetime stuff, or like the stuff that would be happening at 7 p.m. like right in the heart of their schedule.
Yep.
It's like 1 p.m. here, noon.
Yes.
If you want to watch live the big events live.
If I'm being honest, I'll probably mostly be watching highlights on YouTube of what happened.
I agree.
Just because of the awkward time difference.
There's a show that Kevin Hart and Keenan Thompson do a recap show where they watch some of the silliest clips from the Olympics and then just kind of joke around about it.
Is that happening now?
I mean,
Or they did
I
that
don't
the
know
past-
if it's as we speak, but they had an episode and it was funny.
Okay.
It's funny. They I can tell that they're cracking each other up, or that some of the stuff that they are tasked to comment on, that even they are like, what the heck are you putting in front of me right now? Like, you can see that they're laughing at the content more than they're just laughing at their own jokes.
The content is inherently funny.
Yeah. In whenever they did the Olympics after 2020. So I think it was like 2022 they did Summer and Winter Olympics.
Gotcha. So they did summer in 2020 was their first one probably.
It was supposed to be.
Oh, right, because COVID. Mm-hmm. Right.
So they did it with Kevin Hart and Snoop Dogg.
Did they end up postponing it or canceling it entirely?
No, they did it.
They did
That
it.
was the one where Simone Biles
Right.
had her breakdown.
That's right. Okay, that was the 2021. Yeah. That's because, right, gymnastics would be summer.
Yeah, so they did, I think it was Tokyo.
Yes, that's
It was
right.
in the summer. Then where was winter?
Good question. I don't remember.
Wonderful podcasting we're doing right here. Winter of 2020.
Yeah.
2022, I mean, sorry.
Was
the last Olympics.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Was it somewhere
You
in
have
Russia?
your phone? Could you?
Yeah.
So while you're looking that up, I think I'll just share my this doesn't necessarily say like the summer is my favorite or winter is my favorite, but I think my favorite event of the Summer Olympics is men's gymnastics. Just because I personally have an interest in that type of training right now, of body weight calisthenics and learning some of the skills that are like fundamental skills for them, But it's always really cool to see them just make it look so easy, man. They make it look so easy, and the judges are judging them, just off on the side, not doing it, just judging from a distance.
Do you think that the gymnastics judges used to be gymnasts? Or
I
do you
would
think
hope so.
They just know how to observe it.
If not gymnast coaches, at some point in their life, and for any event, frankly, I think if they were not a performer or a coach, it would be strange.
Yeah.
How would you get for some of these obscure sports? How do you gain the appreciation for it at that deep level if you haven't been involved with it?
That's very fair. However, I will
Okay.
say this as a slight counterpoint.
Okay, fair.
I used to coach swim and dive, and I was a swimmer through school.
Yeah.
I never dove. In fact, saying I coached swim and dive is a little bit of an exaggeration because I didn't really coach dive. We didn't have any divers. But we would occasionally go to a meet where dive was part of the competition. Maybe some other teams involved had divers. And I got pretty good at predicting what the scores would be. Because in like high school diving, kid goes up, does their dive. There's usually 3 judges. They've got scores that are, they could have a single digit number up to 10 and a half possibly. So they could get an 8.5. They could get an 8. I don't think you could get a 10.5. I think 10 was the best you could get. But the 3 judges would go there, and I would try to guess and try to be within the range of the highest and lowest judge. And I think I got to about the point where I was about 80% there. So I think that maybe you can become a skilled enough observer to know what to look for.
Okay.
But you'd think that if you had done it before, you probably would have a better keen eye for it.
And I might be projecting a little bit because it is in my personality to not fully have an appreciation for something unless I've tried it, or have done it in the past. Like I'll use music as an example. Growing up with music, and I still do it as a hobby, and I know that's your profession. The more I get involved with it and then hear someone who's really good at it, the more I appreciate it. Like before I got super involved with music, it just seemed like something that should exist in the universe, and like there was good music and not good music, and you better give me good music. It was kind of my attitude.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know if that makes sense at all, but maybe clearly an immature thought process. But the more you try to get better at something and realize how hard it is to get better at it, the more you appreciate and understand what it takes.
Absolutely,
and then see the details. Like, man, I really can't. And so maybe even if they weren't good, like if they even went after it at one point, they might be good judges still.
Yeah. Because they understand which skills are particularly difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, I think in gymnastics they have a built-in degree of difficulty, so they don't necessarily need to know.
They're all kind of difficult.
Yeah.
But there are still some that are vastly easy. Like, even though they're all kind of next level skills, even within that, there are some that are significantly harder and significantly easier. But you wouldn't know because they all look hard.
And what's that skill that you're trying to learn?
Oh, there's a lot of them, but the mana is probably
the
one.
mana.
Yeah,
that's the one. That's your.
And you know what?
list.
I will say I was watching a highlight. I did watch one highlight today when we talked about doing the podcast, and I did see someone attempt the mana in one of the floor routines, and it was no higher than what I can do. I mean, I can't string all those other moves with it, but it was kind of cool to see that he couldn't do the full mana. And granted, no one knows what I'm... See, this is a prime example.
Could you describe what a mana is for the listening audience?
Yes, fair enough. Okay, so
and
mana.
Can you do it for the watching audience, please?
So, okay, well, here, let me describe it this way. I think most people probably know what a forward fold is from yoga, right?
Uh-huh.
So you're standing tall, your legs are straight, and you bend over to touch your toes.
Okay.
That's the shape of your legs and torso. It's that pike position. Your hips and your body are compressed. Okay, so now imagine that shape, but your face is looking towards the ceiling, and your legs are above your chest, parallel to the floor. Your arms are extended behind you with your palms on the floor. I don't know if does that visual make sense?
So are your toes pointed at the ceiling?
No, your
toes are pointed straight ahead.
Your toes are actually pointing behind your head.
But are your legs? So are you turning yourself into a taco, and that taco is straight up and down, or is
So that's a V-sit you just described.
Okay.
A V-sit is when your butt is pointing the ground, your legs are perfectly straight up, toes pointing to the ceiling. That's a V-sit. Okay. I can do that. That's significantly easier than a mana. A mana now. Watch my hand.
I'm watching.
Watch my hand.
His hand is straight up and down right
Okay, my hand is straight up and down.
I'll describe it.
Imagine my body is my head is over here.
His head is on the left side of the hand.
Yes, a mana is when you continue to lift the hips up, which would be my palm.
Oh, so now it's becoming parallel to the ground.
Your legs are parallel to the ground, and I've got this orange in my hand. My fingers represent my arms.
Gotcha. So
your arms are down.
Holding your legs.
Your butt is
your
here.
Arms are on the ground.
Yeah.
And what's in your head is?
Your head is between your knees, facing the ceiling.
What? Your face is facing the ceiling?
Yes.
Okay, legs here. Legs forward.
Yeah.
Head How is your head facing the ceiling?
Because your legs are above your body, not below them. Yes.
So your butt is up.
Your butt's up.
Oh my gosh.
That's a mana.
What? All right. So right now.
You want me to try it?
Oh yeah, David.
Do you think I can? The camera might not catch it all, but I'll try it.
No, I'll describe it.
Okay.
I'm gonna. Okay. So and now, for our Olympics episode of the CC podcast, David, one of our wonderful hosts, he is now on the floor, amidst the litany of wires. He's got his palms pressed firmly on the floor. Legs perfectly straight, upper body at a 90-degree angle. He has lifted himself off the ground. His toes are pointing straight to the ceiling. His butt is up. That was... So he lifted his legs all the way up, not only above a perfect 180 degrees from how he would normally be standing, but beyond. That was impressive.
Thank you. And I will say that was a pretty good V-sit that you saw. I wouldn't even I wouldn't count what I did as a mana, but you could see I was trying to press my hips up towards the ceiling. Mm-hmm. If I can get my hips to at least shoulder height, that's starting to get in mana territory.
Okay, so now I'm gonna do it.
All right, he's going for the silver here. So what Benji is attempting is something that he's never attempted before. He's attempting what I just attempted. Now, keep in mind, he has not had a full training season. He actually has been training for a different event. And what you can't see is that before he fell over, he was trying to lift up. Oh, yeah, but too bad the camera can't really... But that's the idea. Yeah, that's the idea. Maybe the phone camera can see it.
Am I nailing it?
You are not.
Do you go up on your hands, or are your hands flat like this?
Flat. Well, I've seen both ways. I've seen it both ways. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no chance.
So what appeals to me about that move, and this speaks a little bit to my personality, is it's even rare amongst Olympic gymnasts to see a pure mana.
Yeah.
And so I still can't do one, but it's a motivator for me to be able to do one, to say, even amongst the best of the best, it's a rare skill.
So if I wake up every day and I try to do a mana that day...
I would say that's not the right approach.
Not today.
I don't know what the analogy is.
Tomorrow, maybe.
I don't know what the analogy is in vocal coaching, but there are prerequisite skills that would be a better use of time to master before trying to do a mana every day.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
You got to learn some fundamentals, build up some certain strength.
Yes.
That will then translate.
Correct. Like, for instance, if you can't touch your toes, if your hamstrings are too tight, you should address that first.
and I probably need to.
Yeah.
But you know what? I will happily take the silver medal
in
this little gymnastics competition.
That was pretty neat. So maybe what we can do is, in post, I can edit in a professional gymnast briefly doing a mana, so they can
that'd be a great
see
idea.
what we're talking
for the video.
Yeah,
viewer.
for the video viewer. Yeah.
That's fantastic. And you're saying that is a skill that even Olympic gymnasts, like you watched an Olympic gymnast attempt that, and if he did better than you could, it wasn't by much.
Correct. In fact, the only thing that made it better than my best he's probably more consistent. Like he probably could have done it just now. But his range of motion was no better than my best version I've ever done before. But he stringed a whole bunch of other moves with it, so he was probably exhausted. He was, and he could probably repeat it more times than I could. But achieving the actual shape, I was motivated to see, like, hey, I've got footage and pictures of me looking pretty similar to that.
So if I'm watching the Olympics, which I'm going to be, and particularly I like watching the gymnastics. That's one of the more exciting sports to watch.
It's kind of superhuman looking.
Yeah. And this would be something that would happen in the floor routine.
Yes, totally. Or the parallel bar. They sometimes will kick into it.
Okay, that seems like an assist if you can get swinging momentum. That doesn't seem as impressive. But if I'm watching a dude do backflips through the triple backflips that just look like fireworks, and then he gets on the floor and bends his body and suddenly his legs are swinging backwards. That's really one of the more impressive things that we see, even though it doesn't look as visually stunning because of there's no twists and flips in it.
You know, Benji, that's a perfect description of why the judges having that context helps, because you're totally right. Like, doing a triple corkscrew backflip is a more common skill, although way cooler to watch than a mana is. And a mana is typically very slow, kind of contortionist looking, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And cool, but you'd probably rather watch people do a bunch of cool acrobatic flips.
Now, if you were super lightweight, would a mana be a much easier skill?
Not particularly lightweight, but super mobile.
Gotcha.
If you're super mobile and have good control over your mobility, particularly in your shoulders and your hips. Yeah.
That's, you know what?
Yeah.
I bet that our listener did not tune in expecting to learn
About a mana.
about a specific gym. And now I am praying that when I watch the all around finals or whatever, and I watch the floor routine, I want to see a mana, and I want to see somebody do a mana worse than I just watched you do it, so that it proves that David could be in the Olympics.
If it's worse than what you just watched me do it, they're probably not trying to do a mana. They're probably doing a V-sit or an L-sit.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Now here's a question for you. If you could qualify yourself to be on the Moldovan Olympics team, like you say, hey, so David's wife is from Moldova.
Yes.
And I don't know what level of extension you need to have to be able to qualify for another country's Olympic program.
Sure.
But let's just say hypothetically, by virtue of being married into a Moldovan family, you have a half Moldovan daughter.
Yes.
That you qualify for the Moldovan Olympic team. Do you think that you could put together a gymnastics? Do you think you could do an all around? Could you vault? Could you do the rings?
I don't know that I could do an all around. I think what I could probably, if I gave myself 4 years to train and dedicate to it, I mean, never say never. Maybe I could do a all around routine. I don't think I could medal in any of them, but I think where my best shot would be the floor. Probably the rings.
And this is, by the way, is with every bit of respect
Yeah.
to the citizens of Moldova.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that their standards are so low.
Well, I think what you're saying is the competition pool is a lot smaller, and it would be a better, easier shot for me.
Absolutely.
Which I think is a fair point. I mean, the population of the U.S. is way bigger. But yeah, I think what would be a weakness of mine in pretty much every event is I'm hesitant to do acrobatic type stuff because of my backflip incident.
Yeah.
So I think gymnastics rings, even though you finish with a dismount, it's only at the very end that you have. So it's only one time you have to do it. Whereas in floor, that they kind of expect you to do like a lot of flips, or like when you're on the parallel bars, you kind of flip off them, catch yourself. Mm-hmm. So I think probably I would commit to just the gymnastics rings. And I would really try to train myself for that.
Yeah, because even like the vault, the idea of flying through the air and having to spot your feet and land, that could bring back some bad memories.
Totally.
To our listener, I think that maybe you told the story before, but that you had recently learned how to do a backflip.
Yes.
And there was one time that you just let your guard down. Is that what happened?
Yeah, it wasn't quite let my guard down. It was literally the day I learned it. I just kept doing it, but didn't have spotter around and didn't have anyone really around, and I progressively got worse with each attempt, and ultimately the final.
Were you tiring yourself out from doing it so much? Do you think?
For sure, tiring myself out, and so on the final attempt, I ended up breaking my neck. Fortunately, no nerve damage, nothing like that.
Very close though, right?
Within like millimeters, they said. So, and it was like C1, C2 vertebrae, which surrounds the part of your spinal cord that controls breathing and heartbeat. So that could have been really bad, but hey,
we almost just had a C podcast.
It would have been one C.
It would have just been single C podcast.
One C.
Hi, I'm Benji.
This is
the C podcast.
That's right. It could have been that. So,
buddy.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess look, if I were to pursue the Olympics seriously, I might have to overcome that mental hurdle and work with a coach and a team of spotter. To really, I think that would. If that was seriously on the table, I think I would have to tackle that for sure.
Yeah.
But if you were to say in this moment, which event would you be most excited about, most confident about? I think I would be most excited about pursuing the gymnastics rings because it's like really cool stuff that, it's a lot of strength and power, but you kind of there's a sense of you're connected to something the whole time.
Yeah.
Except for the very end.
You're not flying free.
Yeah.
Do you enjoy watching the Olympics?
I do. It's funny. I enjoy watching them, but I almost never watch them in real time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I typically watch highlights or afterwards. And
now I would say I'm different. I enjoy the Olympics and I try to consume as much in real time as possible. And frankly, so I think it's NBC always carries it.
Yep.
And I believe that they always have like primetime coverage. Now, like by the way, the 22 Winter Olympics were in Beijing. Obviously,
you found that on Google.
I found that out, yeah. That timeline isn't going to work out that prime time for us is when anything's happening for them. But they do a good job of, if you don't look up who won which events beforehand, they'll do, the prime time will be the live coverage of it. So the people who are there in Beijing, the sportscasters who are in Beijing covering it, it's their live coverage. It's just being disseminated later. 12 hours later.
That's pretty
so
cool.
You'll watch the 400 sprint as though it's happening now. If you Googled it, you would know who won. But if you avoid it, it's like whatever.
Yeah.
It's like watching live sports. And I like to consume that during the
that's
Olympics.
cool.
It's it's every 2 years you get it. So, know, for a few weeks, it's like that's sports, man. And it's not like there's a lot of sports happening right now. It's baseball and that's it.
That's true.
If it were during football season,
it'd be tougher.
I'd be a lot less interested in the Olympics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's a really cool tradition, though. Like essentially the world comes together with their finest heroes, their mightiest warriors.
Yeah. Now, David, I will tell you this: I have been watching a little bit of the Olympic coverage so far.
Okay.
Even though the Olympics just started, and they have Olympics themed commercials, and frankly, I noticed this when March Madness started. In the first round, I noticed that AT&T had a commercial out that was extremely annoying, and it had two NBA players, Chet Holmgren and I think SGA, were singing a parody of "What a Girl Wants" by Christina Aguilera, and I remember that it was like the first game of March Madness, seeing that commercial and being like, this is the most horrible, annoying commercial I've ever seen. And then seeing that commercial about 300 times over the next month because that was AT&T's March Madness commercial. So the commercials that I'm starting to see matriculate out now, I'm imagining that over the next 3 weeks, we're going to be seeing those over and over and over.
Right.
And there's a couple things I noticed. First off, there's a little bit of a trend that this call me xenophobic. I don't think I'm xenophobic. I think I love people of all cultures and walks of life.
Hey, Benji, you're xenophobic. You just asked me to call you that, so.
No, I said color me.
Oh, okay.
Do you have a marker?
I do. I'll get one.
But they'll have it'll be like the daily lives of certain athletes, and it'll be like Megan Smith, javelin, and it'll be just some American girl, in the background throwing her javelin or whatever, and then it'll be like somebody, and it'll say like a Polish sharpshooter or something like that, or there was a New Zealander weightlifter, and it's like, are we having Olympic commercials that are featuring athletes from other countries? I love people of all countries.
Yes.
But during the Olympics, man,
Especially Moldova.
Especially
we did
Moldova.
not see them represented in any of these commercials.
None of them. During the Olympics, man, it is USA or nothing. Don't come at me with some Visa commercial that's got a sprinter from Germany on it. Like, I don't want to see that.
Or at the very least, USA and... It's like USA should be in every commercial.
I think the Olympics are like a time where nationalism can prevail a little bit.
Yeah, right.
USA, because it's our team at that point. It's like team sports that we should all agree the USA is our team during national teams, like the World Cup.
Right.
You're not going to have a commercial
Football.
featuring Messi if the U.S. is competitive in the World Cup. We need to be cheering for our own people.
The
here.
only caveat I might give to that is, if like the number one, I think the only caveat I give is if the number one athlete of a sport in the world is from a different country and they're sponsored. But again, it would be an and.
Yeah.
Like, Roger Federer for tennis. I don't think he's not American, right? He's from.
No, he's Swedish. Or
Like, it would make sense.
Swedish?
It would
Swiss.
it makes sense to feature commercials with someone like him.
If it, being tennis in the Olympics or something like that.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, you're right. Like, if they're not known or the best in the world and we're choosing to feature other countries instead of our country, what are we doing?
And again, if you're listening to this right now in late July, you're going to see these commercials over and over and over again.
Right.
That it'll have little subtitles saying who you're looking at, doing what they say, and it'll say what country they're from. And again, I understand, we want to be embracing of everyone.
Right.
America's always been, some people say a melting pot, some people say a salad bowl, and it's all great. We were a very diverse country with people from various different ethnic backgrounds. But I want to see people who are wearing, red, white, and blue uniforms.
Totally, yes.
I don't want to see the people that we're going to be competing against.
Absolutely.
As though they're supposed to be our heroes right now.
Exactly.
I mean, good, God bless them. Good job.
Right.
Kudos to get to the Olympics. I would never get to the Olympics. There's another commercial. Okay.
This sounds like it's going to be good.
This one bothers me. This one bothers me profoundly more than the first one. And as I said,
So you're not as xenophobic as you sound.
this is a completely not xenophobic commercial.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
You're going to see this commercial 100 times if you watch the Olympics. I'm predicting it right now.
Okay.
It's
on the record.
This is on the
It's
record.
on my new Sony ZV-E10 DSLR camera.
And the opening ceremonies were yesterday, so we are very early. But Google Gemini, which is their AI software,
Yes.
they've got a Google Gemini commercial out there featuring Cindy McLaughlin.
Mm-hmm.
McLaughlin?
Yeah, I think that's
I
right.
never know how to pronounce the GH
One
in the
of
middle
those
of the
is
word.
right.
Who's a wonderful Olympic sprinter. Fantastic. Respect the heck out of her.
Yeah.
The commercial, though, is from the point of view of a father who is saying that he has a 10-year-old daughter.
I think I saw this.
Yeah. So it's narrated by a father who has a 10-year-old daughter who is Sydney McLaughlin's biggest fan in the entire world. She's working her butt off. She's out there running every day. She's trying to be exact. She's not trying to be exactly like Sydney McLaughlin. She's trying to be better than Sydney McLaughlin. She's going to try to break her records, and she is Sydney McLaughlin's biggest fan. And to communicate her fandom, she wrote a fan letter to Sydney McLaughlin. Only she didn't write a fan letter. She typed a prompt into Google Gemini AI that said, write a letter to my favorite track runner, Sydney McLaughlin, saying that I want to be just like her. Go. And then Google Gemini writes this beautiful fan letter that is presumably sent to Sydney McLaughlin. What? What parent is telling their kid, oh, you have a sports idol. You know what you should do? You should get on an AI chat GPT software and type a basic prompt and print out the letter that AI writes for you and send it to your favorite athlete. That's really going to stir up emotion. She'll probably send you an autographed letter back. No, she's going to be like, what the heck is this? This looks like it was written by a computer with no soul.
I did see that commercial.
It is complete nonsense. And the reality is, this is
Can I pause you for just 1 second?
Sure.
So, this is a very short tangent, and so don't forget your thought.
Okay.
Remember before the podcast when we counted to 10, and you said, why did 10 turn into what? You just did it.
What? I said what?
Yes. Remember? You explained the situation
said
of
what?
how Gemini... Okay, continue.
In the commercial, the dad says something like, hey, we don't always use the best words, or we don't always have the best vocabulary, or something to that effect. But if you put yourself in the perspective of Cindy McLaughlin
Yeah.
answering your fan mail, I would a million times prefer getting a crudely handwritten letter that says, "Dear Sydney, you're my favorite track star. I'm 10 years old, and one day I'm going to break all your records. Love, whatever my name, Mia, whatever her name is." That would be so much more effective. Draw a little picture of her. Draw a little picture of yourself.
So much more valuable. Well, okay. So I had the same reaction when I saw that commercial, and I would even add to that, like, it starts off by talking about how, disciplined and hardworking she is, and how she's going to get there and be
when
the
you say
best.
she, you're saying the little girl.
The little girl, yep. Yeah. And then the dad says, "I'm going to have Google Gemini AI do right for her." That kind of counteracts the discipline, hardworking. But
she can't be taking time off the track.
Fair enough.
That 10-year-old girl can't be doing other things with her life.
She's got to delegate. Okay. So from the perspective, but you're right. From the perspective of Cindy, like even if you make it more relatable to a parent with a kid, right? Not everyone's going to become famous and get fan mail, but a lot more people will become parents. And I can tell you, like, I've got a 2-year-old daughter. I would way more prefer her to come home from preschool with a scribble on a piece of paper that I just don't know what it is, but it says, "Dad, I love you," spelled with, spelled wrong, capital letters are in the wrong place, lower, In fact, I have something like that. Let me go get it and show you, because I think that's just, so much more touching when you get something like that than, like, if her teacher had her use Google Gemini to create a picture for her, I would throw it away.
yeah. Go ahead and grab it.
I'm going to grab it.
I'll hypothetically describe what you're just saying. That it's like, exactly. No teacher, and I'm an elementary school teacher, no teacher would be like, "Hey, here's what we're going to do today. Instead of being creative, instead of making art, we're going to go into Google Gemini or ChatGPT or some AI image generator. We're going to type a prompt in, and it's going to say, 'Daddy, I love you. You are the best dad in the world. Happy Father's Day. My dad has blonde hair,' and hit generate and see what comes up." And even if it was perfect, even if it was Mona Lisa quality AI generated art, it would not have any soul or character, and it wouldn't resemble anything that was made by an actual human being. Now, with David, in his situation, he's got an actual scribble fest of World's Greatest Dad, Happy Father's Day, that he just brought in. David, you want to show this to the camera? Oh, yeah. So what I'm looking at, he's away from his microphone. What I'm looking at is a paper plate with 2 blue little tassels that are very crudely cut at the bottom, implying that maybe somebody who doesn't have the swiftest of hands maybe cut those, and just scribbles all over, and a couple stickers that say, "Dad is my hero, Happy Father's Day." What?
It says, "My dad is my hero, happy." So the stickers are the writing, which I think is fair, but the scribbles, the tape, the color, that's clearly not AI. That's clearly love from my daughter's hand.
And what if instead that plate had a printout of a computer-generated image that was described, your daughter voice to texted into an AI image generator, a picture, and then it made that picture and printed it out? What would that do for you?
Less. It would still do more than nothing, for sure, because she's less than 2, so if she's giving prompts to AI,
it would be kind of funny.
That is an impressive. There's something impressive to that. But the commercial made it clear that the father was going to create the prompt for her.
That's very true.
So there's another layer of disconnect there. Like you can't even make the prompt. I'm going to make the prompt so that it sounds good.
Do you think that your daughter could speak clearly enough to voice to text a prompt into an image generating software? Because that could be very fun to see what the mind of your daughter will
my daughter has a few commands that she can give. One is very simple: move. That's one.
Move.
Yeah. Or give me more. So if there was like she has like ice cream or something, she'll want more. So if this was a secondary prompt, I think it would work. Like if you or I had already prompted the AI and then Amelia came and said, "Give me more," that might be the one prompt that would genuinely work.
Are there any animals or anything that she can, like, can she say dog or cat? Or...
Oh, yeah.
So if we said, Amelia, what animal would you like to see? Would it be possible that she could go cat or piggy?
Oh, yeah.
And so you could prompt her to prompt in, okay, and what's the piggy gonna do? Move. All right, make a piggy move.
Yeah.
And that would be about as good as it's gonna get.
Right. She would be playing Mad Libs with us to create the prompt.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, that's quite a sidetrack from. If you see that commercial and and if you watch the Olympics, you're gonna see it a lot. Please just roll your eyes along with me and remember this conversation that we had, because I have a feeling that this commercial is going to get roasted once everybody starts to see it.
Probably.
The Olympics are just getting started, so people haven't seen that commercial 50 times yet.
Well, it's a fun commercial because part of it is really fun and inspiring, and then it ends on that note of like, wait, you're not going to write a thank you note yourself?
Well, and what if Cindy McLaughlin answers her fan mail using Google Gemini? Hey kid, all right, write a letter to this kid who thinks she's gonna break my records and is my biggest fan, and then it shows that would be a hilarious SNL response to that.
I guess at the end of the day, if you're trying to find a silver lining with it, which you and I both often try to do, it still requires you to think of the person to prompt AI. There's still the act of thinking of that person, but it ends there. It just filters out so much meaning.
Absolutely. Well, and look, if you're writing a cover letter for a job, AI, and it's basically these are the facts of the situation.
Give me
this
the rough
is my
draft.
name. These are my qualifications. This is the job I'm applying for. Please consider me. And nobody's really reading that deep into the cover letter. AI, beautiful. If you're writing a love letter to your significant other, AI, probably not the best way to do it unless you really have no way with words whatsoever. If you're trying to communicate, I'm writing a letter to my idol, my sports hero, freaking write it. If you're a parent out there and you're listening, if you're a parent out there listening, and your kid has a sports hero, encourage them to get out a pen and a piece of paper, maybe some crayons depending on their age, write it out, lick that envelope closed, send it to them.
Right.
Don't have ChatGPT write your fan mail, because it will mean nothing to the person receiving it.
Right.
Write it
It'll
out.
feel like ChatGPT is the fan.
Yeah, and everybody knows ChatGPT when they read it.
Yeah.
If there's going to be some adjectives in that letter that are way beyond what a 10-year-old is going to be. I'm always astonished by the way you run around the track. Okay, so that is
that's what grinds your gears right now.
It grinds my gears.
The Olympics.
And I'm getting out in front of that because I'm anticipating that this is going to be a take that is shared by others in the future.
I think
so. Yeah, it's a little bit mind-boggling that's the case.
Yeah.
This is the Olympics episode. We do have some topics in a hat.
Oh, yeah.
And we have a debate club. One thing before we go. So we have a hat full of topics, as we always do here.
Yeah.
That's usually the meat and potatoes. We've actually had a nice little discussion about the Olympics before we start, and we are going to have a debate club at the end of the episode, so make sure you stick around all the way to the end so you can hear me beat David in a debate, as I always do.
He's going to beat me in Loserville.
Good one. He's already off to a wonderful start.
You're the king of Loserville.
The king of the mayor of Losertown. There is a new event in the Olympics this year. Did you know this?
I only know that because you told me beforehand, but I'm going to pretend like you didn't.
David.
Oh my God. What is it?
You're ruining the illusion. Hold on, can you say
magic.
what?
Huh?
Can you say what?
What?
David, There's a new event in the Olympics.
What? You get out of here.
Get out of town. Yes, there is, in fact.
Get out of Loserville.
A new event. Breakdancing.
That's pretty cool.
Breakdancing. I guess
That's pretty cool.
It seems like that would be somewhere between gymnastics and rhythmic gymnastics, right?
I think that's right.
Because they several years back they put in rhythmic gymnastics where you see people like with those ribbon, those ribbons on a stick or like a ball that they like will do kind of a dance routine.
I would say it's probably like a street version of gymnastics with cool music in the background is what I'm going to guess that is.
Yeah, in fact,
like
go ahead, sorry.
You'd probably see someone doing like a lot of those flares, where they're like spinning around there.
I actually have a description of what the breakdancing competition is going to look like. And it says, after captivating the hip-hop world for the past few decades, breakdancing, referred to as breaking by the IOC, I think that's the International Olympic Committee, will make its Olympics debut in Paris. The sport previously debuted at the 2018 Summer Youth Olympic Games in Buenos Aires, Argentina. There will be 2 events for men and women where 16 competitors will showcase their skills in spectacular solo battles. The athletes will use a combination of moves including the windmills, 6-step, and freezes to improvise their choreography to a DJ's tracks, ultimately hoping to wow the judges and bring home the first breaking, they call it breaking, not breakdancing, the first breaking medals in Olympic history. So it sounds like they're going to have sets of skills much like they have in gymnastics where it's like these are the skills you're expected to know, but there's going to be improvised. It says to improvise their choreography to a DJ's tracks. So I think the idea that their routines could be partially improvised.
That's pretty cool.
That's pretty impressive. Like, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
I expect to, I definitely want to catch breakdancing.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's on, hopefully they push that to the front. They don't hide that like they do with something like weightlifting. They hardly ever show that on TV. I want to see breaking. Are you kidding me?
Well, especially with the improv, like it's going to be different every time you see somebody.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You know what? I have a topic that is not in the hat.
Should we talk about it?
Yeah. What would you, if you could suggest a sport that is not or a competition that is not part of the Olympics, what do you think would be an Olympic level competition that should be in the Olympics but is not?
Interesting. Well, I might have to. I might have to fact check myself because
I got you.
You got me? Okay.
I'll fact check.
Because I know recently, like in recent Olympics, they've added like X Games sports, right?
So there is skateboarding now.
Skateboarding.
Mm-hmm.
What about mountain biking? Is that like other X Games sports?
Let's see. Olympics.
Because that would be the first place I go.
Would mountain biking, that would be like, would that be like a cross country skiing? It looks like Olympic cycling. There is a mountain bike competition.
Rock climbing, I think, was recent, right?
That's added.
That was added.
That was added last time. Yep.
Yeah.
Competitive climbing. Is chess in the Olympics?
Like a mental sport. I think that would probably not count as a. I mean, it's like a mental sport, but I would be surprised if that was in the Olympics because it's really about physical feats as opposed to mental feats.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like a chess is in the Olympics. You're right. That is a mental feat.
Yeah, I mean, not that like. I think a lot of the sports in the Olympics require mental strength, but it's around a physical event.
Sure.
Yeah. Whereas chess is completely strategic and mental and doesn't require any sort of conditioning physically.
Olympic hacky sack?
Ooh. God, I don't know. Did you have an idea in mind when you posed that question?
What about Olympic big splash competition?
Who can make the opposite of diving, basically?
The opposite of diving. I love a good big splash contest. When I was growing up on the 4th of July, there was a few events, and big splash was always a highlight. You go in, you hit your can opener, you hit your cannonball, you make that big splash. Maybe you get bonus points if you nail a belly flop. You hit that belly flop, smack.
I think maybe like something like capture the flag or tag. Something where like speed, agility, are involved, and maybe like you're
Olympic
dodging.
tag would be
pretty epic.
Be nuts. You ever watch like the game show that's like the Extreme Tag or whatever?
Yes, that's what gave me that thought.
That would be awesome.
That would be super
Ninja
cool.
Warrior.
American Ninja Warrior.
If they had Olympic,
That could be an Olympic event.
obstacle course or something like that.
That would be cool.
I would watch the heck out of that.
Absolutely.
Are you kidding me? Obstacle course in the Olympics?
Heck yeah.
What about there's no motorsports as in like racing,
Like NASCAR, you
like
mean?
NASCAR, or like
Interesting.
Formula One kind of.
I could see something.
driving.
I mean, that does require physical strength and conditioning. Like
Yeah.
you're absolutely. I could see that.
And you think about like maybe manufacturers like Ferrari
Yeah.
are gonna work for Team Italy, and
Yeah.
America might have Ford. Different countries could be representing
Subaru.
Where's Subaru? Is that
I don't
Japan?
know. I think Japan. Yeah.
Yeah, Subaru would have a lot of options for who's going to manufacture their cars. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't know if polo is that an Olympic sport with horses.
I'm sure. It was
one
at
point.
some point.
Yeah.
I doubt.
Arm
I don't
wrestling.
know. Arm
That
wrestling.
could be interesting.
Oh, slap boxing.
Thumb
have you ever watched
wrestling?
those? Have you watched those?
I have. Yeah. You just slap the crap out of
And
somebody.
just knock people unconscious. Slap boxing in the Olympics.
What a crazy sport! You will be slapped really hard.
And
Guaranteed.
you'll probably be concussed from it. And you can't.
More than once.
Can you imagine having some dude who's 300 pounds plus, jacked dude, about to just smack you
And
across the
Are
head,
not allowed to dodge it.
and you just have your hands at your side? I
No.
cannot even. What?
First of all, no. What? That's ridiculous. I'm
No way,
sorry.
Jose.
That sport is that's one of those things. Is it a sport? Can you call it that? I don't. Maybe it is. But I mean, I guess it's like guaranteed. Like, there's no defense involved. You just take it.
Yeah.
I guess it's like
It's resistance, I guess. How strong is your brain, and how hard can you hit the other person?
That's true.
But you're right. There's no strategy. It's just strength and cranial
Resilience.
stamina, I guess.
But-
Here's one.
Okay.
What about esports? Do you think that there will be a day when we see
Video games.
an esports, video games competition in the Olympics?
I don't.
That is a physical skill.
I would doubt it, and I would doubt it. It's reaction time. So you're right. I would be more inclined to think that maybe it has its own spin-off version of the Olympics than to be in the actual Olympics. But
Sure.
But who knows? Maybe.
I think that esports resembles a sport, even if you're not playing sports video games, even if you're playing Overwatch or Rocket League, whatever. That resembles a sport more than chess.
I agree.
Where you could
More
give
reaction
a
time.
verbal command to an automated chessboard, and the pieces could move. Like there's no actual physical thing happening. It is reaction time, and it's finger dexterity. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not nothing. You watch the rifle shooting. It's like that's basically
The
steady
biathlon.
hand. Steady hand and pulling a trigger.
True.
This is just the same thing happening kind of in a virtual environment.
Interesting. I guess so. I guess I can see a future where that happens.
I would not bet a significant amount of money. Let's try words. I would not bet a significant amount of money against a future where esports is represented in the Olympics. I think that there could be a day very.
I think there could
where
be.
that'll happen.
Yeah, maybe like when in like the second half of our life, maybe that'll be a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're 33,
Any other?
so within the next 20 to 30 years, perhaps.
It'll happen, and we'll be like these kids.
Back in our day, we played Pong.
Exactly. Yeah. Well,
Actually, that was even before our time.
that was definitely before our time.
Yeah.
I was raised.
I never played Pong.
We had an NES in our household when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
And I think that was even probably supposed to be before my time.
My earliest memory of video games, I think, was like Super Nintendo.
Really?
Yeah.
We definitely had an NES and an old school Atari
Ooh.
in our house.
We had a
when I was
Sega
little.
Genesis. I think that's older than Super Nintendo.
Sega Genesis.
Around the same
Yeah, that would
time.
be about the same time.
Feels older.
Do you have any other sports that you think should be in the Olympics?
No, I think we named some good. I think pretty much anything that you used to do as a child could be fun in an Olympic elite athlete format, like kick the can, tag, hide and seek, capture the flag.
What about paintball? Do they have paintball?
that? Could be cool too. I don't know if
Or like
paintball-
airsoft or something?
That would be cool. I don't know if it is.
Like that would be
Laser
insane.
tag?
Think about the matchups. You would have like it because that simulates war.
Right.
And you could have like actual old school war rivals.
That's true. They can get real
USA
serious.
versus Germany. Here we go. Run it back.
You get pelted. You get
gosh.
pretty ticked off.
Oh my gosh. Could you imagine England versus Japan? Here we go. Like just old school rivals.
Foursquare, Olympic Foursquare.
Could you imagine if the best athletes in the world
Bam, bam,
playing
bam.
Foursquare? Tetherball?
They'd probably be like, people who were in the volleyball world, you know, that were like, hey, I think I'm not quite tall enough, so I'm going to do this Foursquare thing.
I think it would be hilarious. Would it be possible if you developed like an Avengers of athletes from America?
That'd be cool.
And we said that they're going to this group is going to do like a bunch of sports. Like all of the sports that we don't really care about, but that if you actually had like really good athletes doing it, handball always comes up as one.
Oh, yeah.
And so we're going to have like J.J. Watt, a retired NFL player. He's going to come in and he's going to be on the handball team. And, some NBA players, maybe some washed up quarterbacks in the NFL. Johnny Manziel is going to be on the handball team and just light everybody up. I don't know, some other, I'm having now a difficult time thinking of
athletes.
other low end sports, but you just have these people that are going to do all of the low end team sports that people don't care that much about, but that if you put like a really sick athlete in, they could probably
cool. That
crush.
would be cool if you take you take all the most popular sports that are out there, and then you take like a name, like the first name you think of when you think of basketball right now
LeBron
is
James.
obviously Michael Jordan. LeBron James, of course. So you take like a LeBron James, and you take like someone from other. You take a
Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, and then you have them all do a sport that they don't normally do in this Avengers format.
Yeah.
That could be really cool marketing, People would want to watch that.
It's a team made up of athletes from different sports.
It's literally the Avengers. Like, we've never worked together before, but we're all like really cool people.
Yeah.
And we're going to work together now.
It's a little bit like what the NBA, or not the NBA, the U.S. basketball team does.
Yes.
But they are all from the same sport.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit different.
So I think that since we brought it up, I think that perhaps there's a debate to be had around who's the best, MJ versus LeBron. Obviously people are going to say MJ, but I think that, I think it's at least debatable.
Oh, for sure.
But I think probably what's less debatable is who's more legendary. I think that Michael Jordan is the bigger legend.
Unless you look at the record books, in which case LeBron dominates in every statistical category.
I didn't say who was better. I said who's more legendary. I think
that's because time has passed.
Sure, but
time has to pass for a legend to exist.
So listen,
one's not even retired. How are you going to have a legendary conversation when one is still actively playing?
I'm just saying. Listen, I think perhaps there's still time for him to do something, but
that's not what I'm saying.
Listen,
at all.
I think that Michael Jordan changed the game. He brought in more fans.
David's from Chicago.
I am from Chicago. I am not biased, but I'm probably biased.
He's biased. He's from Chicago.
But I think that even LeBron James fans would say that LeBron James is where he is because Michael Jordan. And sure, Michael Jordan has heroes, but I think, look,
LeBron is where he is because of Michael Jordan?
Look,
that is nonsense.
Hold on. I'm not.
Whoa, Michael Jordan was training LeBron James.
No,
in the
I didn't say that.
Projects in Akron. You're right. I mean, he is number 23 because he's inspired by Michael Jordan.
Look,
but
yeah, I'm just saying.
Let's give LeBron a little bit of credit here.
I'm just saying. Look, he worked hard for sure. I'm just saying.
And he's a freak of nature.
I think it's less debatable that Michael Jordan changed the game more than LeBron James changed the game.
Well, it's just a matter of time and place. It's not a matter of excellence.
Agree to disagree? I think it takes quite a bit of excellence to change the game.
Here's why MJ is more legendary, because he is a relic of the past that his excellence has to be told to you. If you're not from Chicago and you're not over the age of 30, Michael Jordan is a legend. That's all he is. He's a legend.
Sure.
You have to go back and hear about it. LeBron James will be a legend when he's retired for a generation, the way that MJ is, and he'll be talked about with the same reverence. by the people who watched LeBron James play in his prime as they tell their kids about LeBron James.
So
the same way that people tell about MJ. Revisionist history
let me
comes
ask
in
you
a little
this.
bit.
Let me put it this way.
Put it that way.
In the world of... I'm going to put it that way. I always say that. I'm going to put it that way. In the world of basketball, who, before Michael Jordan,
Wilt Chamberlain.
got non-basketball fans excited about basketball?
Magic Johnson and Larry Bird.
Okay, fair enough. But did they to the same degree as Michael Jordan?
I don't know.
You don't know. I'm gonna venture to say that Michael Jordan beats them in that category, and he was better than them. So I think that Michael Jordan wins in the best of all time versus those two, Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, and changed the game more and brought in more non-basketball fans. Now, if you bring in...
especially in Chicago.
Sure.
You're biased.
The ratio goes up in Chicago. But I think even all around the world, if you ask people about basketball, Larry Bird and Magic Johnson aren't going to come up all around the world. Larry Bird and Magic Johnson.
Okay,
Yeah.
Sorry.
Catch up. But Michael Jordan will. All around the world.
How did we get into this debate all of a sudden?
I forget. I don't know. This isn't our debate
I think
topic.
I was just saying that the
the
basketball
Avengers team
is kind of like
Yeah.
the Avengers because it's basically an all-star team of players who don't usually.
This will
play
be my
together.
last remark about it, and then you can continue, but I won't. I promise. I think that if you were to take a survey all around the world who the most legendary basketball player is, other countries,
Yeah,
it'd probably be Michael Jordan.
Legendary.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
LeBron
but
does
I'm
not
even
qualify for legendary yet.
Look. My point is, no one before Michael Jordan is going to get thought of as much, and we could fast forward 20 years from now after LeBron James is retired, and I think Michael Jordan will still be.
I don't know. I think that that's an unfair projection to make.
It
I
might
think
be,
you might
but
be wrong about.
But
that,
I
in
stand by
fact.
it. I stand by it.
Okay, you're welcome to stand by it.
Let's revisit
think
it in 20 years.
Both of us probably have
We'll take a worldwide survey.
Who's in 20 years? Set an alert. Hey Siri,
Yeah.
set a reminder for 20 years from now to check in on if LeBron is more legendary than Michael Jordan.
I like the way you phrased that.
I added check-in on if LeBron is more legendary than Michael Jordan for July 28th, 2044.
Thank you.
Nice. That's real. Hopefully Apple's still in business.
I hope that the microphone's picked up. So I have a reminder in my phone for 2044.
Okay.
But
I'll
we're
end my-
probably both a little bit biased. You
I
know,
think so.
I was raised in the Cleveland area. You were raised in the Chicago area.
That's true.
So we were both witnesses. Special. That was like the big thing with LeBron. Witness.
Yeah.
We were both witnesses to the greatness. I believe that once LeBron has retired and time has passed, his legacy will be treated in a very similar way to the way that Michael Jordan's is, just of the next generation. And I think that Michael Jordan's legacy was probably treated the way that Larry Bird and Magic Johnson was in the 90s. You know, like after their run was over, they were probably talked about that way, you know, to the next generation. And we're just a generation a little bit beyond that.
I guess what I'm saying is we could take a survey today, and I don't know how to do it, but I would guess we take a survey today and 20 years from now. Who do you think is a bigger legend? Who's more well known? Who changed the game more? I say both time periods. Michael Jordan beats LeBron James in that worldwide survey.
Well, I've got a reminder set so we can settle that score in 20 years.
Okay, but it sounds like you agree that today Michael Jordan would be considered a bigger legend because time has passed.
Yeah, and I think that today LeBron James would currently be considered a better player right now. If Michael Jordan and LeBron James both
In
put
their
on their
prime?
no.
Michael Jordan is
That's not what we're talking about. We're because if we're comparing apples and apples, that's different than comparing apples and oranges, which is what you signed up for. You signed up for comparing apples and oranges.
Okay,
which is saying, whoa, let me finish my sentence, please.
Well, if you're-
we got a legend. You're saying who's a bigger legend, the person who's been retired and is a Hall of Famer, or the person who is still currently playing? Okay, well, that's not a fair comparison. Who's a better player right now today if you suit it up? The person who's still playing or the person who's been sitting on their couch for the last 20 years? Well, obviously it would be LeBron. So it's the same argument, just the flip. Do you want to have an argument about who would be a better player right now if they
No,
put on a jersey?
I agree with you that LeBron James would wipe the floor with 60-year-old Michael Jordan.
Exactly.
Of course.
And retired Michael Jordan, who's in the Hall of Fame, will win a legend conversation against currently active
But that's not the claim
LeBron
I'm making.
James.
The claim I'm
That's
making.
exactly the claim you
No,
made.
I'm not. The claim I'm making is 20 years from now, Michael Jordan will still be a bigger
Well, then
legend.
you moved the goalpost because at
No,
the
I
beginning
didn't.
of this the beginning of this conversation,
I'm
you
actually
did.
saying both. I'm saying today and 20 years from now. But with your point, I'm at least willing to say, like, yeah, of course today LeBron James would beat today Michael Jordan. But in both of their primes, I don't know. I honestly
and in
don't.
20 years, I don't think it's as clear. Just like I think it's yes, right now Michael Jordan is a bigger legend than LeBron, and LeBron doesn't need to do anything to improve his legend status other than retire, wait, let the legend of LeBron bake in the oven of he's not currently playing revisionist history.
I disagree.
People fondly remember their childhood of watching LeBron,
Look.
and that's exactly what you're doing with Michael Jordan.
No, what?
Because LeBron leads in every statistical category except for championships, and championships are a function of the team that surrounds you.
So here's the point. You are taking an individual's view of Michael Jordan and an individual's view of LeBron. Like, over time, that individual will idolize LeBron
We have
more.
debate club later, by the way.
We
It's going to
do.
be a different topic.
Exactly. So what I'm saying is, in terms of just sheer numbers of people, I am confidently making the claim that Michael Jordan had more non-basketball fans. Like, I'm actually, and maybe I'm projecting because I'm an example. Like, I'm not a basketball fan. I'm a Michael Jordan fan. And, like, I stopped caring about basketball after Michael Jordan left.
You're from Chicago.
I am. Okay.
The
but
Bulls
look,
were butt before Michael Jordan and butt after Michael Jordan.
Yes,
No
correct.
wonder you stopped liking basketball after
Yes,
Michael Jordan retired.
Correct. I'm not denying that at all. But the point I'm making is I think that around the world, there are more people like me that Michael Jordan influenced than LeBron James has influenced. I think within basketball, it's more heated. But outside the realm of basketball, I think Michael Jordan's the bigger legend. I'm confidently making the claim that he brought more non-basketball fans in to the crowd than LeBron James did.
Well,
And that's what I mean when I say a bigger like more people genuinely were excited about him outside of basketball than just within basketball.
perhaps.
And that's the point I'm making. Like, he made a bigger impact on the sport. Like,
But would
like
you
it-
agree that what you're describing is a function of the time and place that he existed?
No, because I think you could go. I think
Because
that's
in order to bring people into the NBA, if you're saying not a lot of people watched NBA, and then MJ came along, and then they did, well, then you have to be putting yourself into a product that's in disarray.
No, because
the NBA was doing just fine when LeBron came along. They didn't need a savior when LeBron came along.
Look, so I think that there's probably a lot of people who stopped watching basketball. I mean, sure, there was probably a net plus, but look, I mean, I think that there was a lot of people that LeBron could have brought back in that maybe he didn't.
I've got a checkmate for you here.
Okay, a checkmate. You haven't even had a check yet.
Oh, you've been in check this entire time.
I have not been in check this entire
Caitlin
time.
Clark.
Okay,
She saved the WNBA.
sure.
Perhaps the viewership of this year's WNBA compared to past WNBA, night and day difference.
Sure.
Night and day In fact, like, the WNBA All-Star game, like, was triple the viewership of the best baseball game that was happening at the same time.
Okay,
Unheard of.
sure.
She is not the leading scorer in the WNBA. So perhaps she is legendary. Perhaps she is a savior of the game. But that doesn't mean that her greatness is the reason for that. It's because of the time and place, the soil in which she was planted. And could she go on to be one of the greatest WNBA players of all time? Very possibly. Very possibly. I'm not selling Caitlin Clark short. I think that she's an exceptional basketball player. But, you know, Asia Williams is way better than her. And, you know, I think that MJ bringing eyes to the sport isn't necessarily... I mean, he's obviously great. He's obviously
That's
great.
the whole-
He's obviously the second greatest player of all time. But
Next to the younger version of himself.
But it's not a recruitment competition. It's
That's the
basketball.
whole-
It's
that's
putting
the
the ball
whole-
through the hoop.
That's the whole point I'm making in this whole time. I am making the point.
You said
that,
he's a bigger legend. That's
Yes.
all you said. And then you went on
and I went
after...
to describe what I meant by that.
Okay, so your definition of a legend is somebody who makes other people watch a sport?
Who changed the game, or who gets more people excited around it. Yeah, that's what I mean. Who's remembered greater, for sure. And I would be willing to bet that in the future,
Who's
he
remembered greater?
Yeah.
Okay, so you...
That's what do you think a legend is?
Well, I'm trying to pinpoint this definition because the goal line keeps
If
moving
you're
from
forgotten,
left to
how
right
can you
here.
be a legend? If you are more forgotten, you are less of a legend.
I don't think LeBron's going to get forgotten anymore.
I don't
than
think he's
MJ's
going to be
get
forgotten. I think he will be. I think fewer people will know his name in the
I thought
future.
your definition of legendary was bringing people to watch the sport.
Yeah, and so the more people who know about the sport know about you, I think it's I'm trying to paint a well-rounded picture here. Here's what I'm willing.
So there's
to say.
a lot of criteria that go into legend status in your mind, and one of those criteria.
The root is the root of it is how many people know your name and how many people remember it in the long term. And so an aspect of that is you're bringing more eyes to basketball because people are knowing your name. So sure, maybe that sounds like a tangent, but it's all part of the same conversation. So, but here's the thing.
Did Michael Jordan have Steph Curry in the West to have to deal with?
Here's what I would say. I am not the right person because I'm not a basketball fan.
Go on, David. Keep talking.
To have the debate of who's the better player. So that's not the claim I'm
But we
making.
could have a great debate on who's more popular in Chicago.
And, sure. And likewise in Ohio, right?
Yeah.
You could even say in Illinois versus Ohio. I think that we sure could. But that's not the claim I'm making right now. The claim I'm making is I believe firmly
That the guy you watched play when you were 5 years old.
Correct. And I don't think I'm the only one in thinking that he will be remembered and known by more people in the future than I think it'll be close. It'll be close, at least in the United States. But I think worldwide, Michael Jordan will be more remembered. We're looking at that camera right now. I would like to get comments from people if anyone disagrees with me.
I'm being really smug right now.
Yes.
I think that there's a very reasonable chance that you're right.
Yes.
But I also think that you're assuming you're right.
I am.
Based on a strong
Bias.
bias that you might not even realize the extent to which you're biased.
No, I realize I'm biased for sure, but I'm still confident in it.
And I'm also biased. I just think that the term legend, TBD. Yeah, time will tell.
It will.
I think that a lot of the legend happens after retirement and after people haven't seen you play, people haven't seen you be weak. They only remember your best. Because right after MJ retired, he retired on what? Washington Wizard? And he was terrible.
Sure.
So it's like there's got to be this incubation period post-retirement where your legend builds. People, as I said, people tell your kids. You're telling Amelia about how great MJ was when you were a kid, and you can say anything. You can say he was 12 feet tall and could dunk the ball from above, and nobody's going to call you a liar.
Yeah.
And I'll be doing the same thing, in LeBron James legend with whoever I tell about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that, perhaps an analogy would be like there were few presidents before Abraham Lincoln, that had more of a legacy. I mean, George Washington, maybe Thomas Jefferson, and then there were a bunch of others, and then Abraham Lincoln. I feel like Michael Jordan
Is George Washington.
is the George Washington, even though he wasn't the first.
And LeBron James is Abe Lincoln. I think that is
Perhaps.
David. I think that's about as close of
We'll
an
find
analogy
out.
as you're going to make it.
Yeah.
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 I
I
think
would be
that's
willing.
fair.
I would be willing to agree to that.
And we could sit here and argue the greatness of each based on their accomplishments. But
And you know what? And I think that time and place, where I will grant you the time and place, is I think that without George Washington, there would not be an Abe Lincoln. And I think that greatly LeBron was motivated and inspired by Jordan. So perhaps he was his George Washington.
perhaps
Got him in the game.
I'm moving on because we have to move on.
Should we
Not
just
because I'm-
jump to our official debate club for the sake of, because it's already
I think we need to give the listeners at least
One
a
topic.
slight break from us
debating.
arguing with each other. We're going to argue with each other.
While
in
you're
a
pulling that,
little
I'm going to see if the camera's ready to go again.
bit. Okie dokie. So I'm going to go ahead and remind the listener at home, hi listener, our usual format for our podcast is that we put not debate topics, we put conversation topics into a hat. I typically write half of them. David writes half of them. And then we pull them out. Whatever topic or question comes up is what we discuss, for however long we feel like discussing it. And, if it takes us down a different winding road, who cares?
Yeah.
We're living it up. We have some Olympics-based topics in the hat today. Okay? And candidly, I wrote these. So I'm going to let you draw first. And whatever David draws, he's going to talk about, and he's going to be the first one, and then I will also have a conversation about it.
What event would you love to try / never want to try? Well, since I already said the gymnastics rings earlier, maybe I'll come up with a different one. I think it would be fun to try probably this is a Winter Olympic sport.
Sure.
The biathlon, just because it's so bizarre. You pair cross country skiing with shooting a rifle. So I think that would be just hysterical. And I mean, it's probably really hard actually, because it's probably really hard to focus and relax when you're exhausted.
Yeah, I think that's the part that gets left out well, it doesn't get left out, but that people might not think about is the difficulty that cross country skiing is. And if you've ever gone skiing, like snow skiing, that's the hard part, right?
Yeah.
After you get to the bottom and you're trying to get from the bottom of the hill to the lift, and you have to go and chug yourself along flat land. That's what they're doing for miles,
right?
Kilometers, whatever they would say, and then they have to steady their breathing. That gun's going up and down, up and down, up and down. And you got to shoot a teeny tiny target 100 meters away.
Yeah.
But you'd love to try it, you're saying?
I think it would be fun to try. Yeah, I think it would be fun to try. And then, of course, I think I'll just stick to what I said earlier. Anything that requires significant acrobatic, I would stay away from.
Yeah.
Sort of the not want to try. But let me see if I can get more specific and more interesting here.
While you think, I'll say mine, and then that gives you a little bit of a moment. I would love to try curling. That's another Winter Olympic
Interesting
sport.
how we both went to winter.
Yeah. Maybe winter has a little bit more chill sports. When I was in college at Bowling Green State University in
went
Ohio.
there.
Really?
Yeah.
What a coincidence. There was a curling rink at the hockey arena, and they offered a curling class, and I actually was able to take that curling class. It was difficult to get in. You had to, if you were younger than a junior, it was always going to be filled up by the time you were able to sign up for classes. But it was 3 hours one day out of the week, and they taught you how to curl, and you got to play, and it was very fun. I don't particularly remember being excellent at it, but it was very fun. And if I could do it at the Olympic level, I think that would be pretty incredible. My instinct, because I swam, I was a swimmer in school, would be to say swimming, but it's I know my time. I know my times at swimming, and I would get destroyed by anybody in the Olympics. So that wouldn't even be fun. Yeah. But curling, it's whatever. I'll go out there. I'll curl a little bit. Yeah. I'll get my butt whooped, and it won't feel quite as embarrassing as being last in the pool by far. So curling would be super fun. As much as I think that the big air kind of things would be a lot of fun to try. That would, much like you with the gymnastics,
like the snowboarding.
That
was what I was going to say.
Or actually. The BMX, or skateboarding, as I said, is part of it. That would just be a bloodbath.
Yeah, it would be a one-time event.
Luge, or skeleton. Skeleton's the one where you're just on a little. Teeny tiny sled, and it's just your body, and you go head first down the thing. Yeah, no gracias. Bobsled would be fun. Bobsled would be sneaky.
Especially on the Jamaican team, right?
Yeah, man. Because if you go slow, your risk of going off the edges is probably if you're bad, it's probably safe.
It's probably more fun.
Yeah, more fun. I would like to try that one. Bobsledding would be fun to try.
Nice.
Are there any summers? Volleyball. Beach volleyball would be fun.
That would be cool.
Again, I'd get destroyed, but we're talking about Olympic athletes.
Yeah, we're talking about having fun.
That would be a fun one to go out. Yeah. Enjoy the sun, pop the
Your
top
teammates
off.
might not have fun.
Well,
get
you only have
off
one
this
team.
team.
We could be
the CC team.
Do you think we could be the Moldovan beach volleyball team?
Probably.
Can I get Moldovan citizenship?
I don't even know if they have a volleyball team over there.
Exactly.
So we could be.
We could be.
So by virtue of being in the CC podcast and I'm married to Lucci, I think we can make it work.
Yeah. I'm a +1.
You're a +1.
Yeah.
So
I agree. Do you have any other that you would particularly like to try or not like to try?
I think to give a specific example, snowboard probably would be just because just like anything where it's like you're doing flips and spins and stuff.
What about the big ski jump? You ever see that where they go
There was
down
a
that
time.
ramp? Woo!
There was a time when I was in probably college age where like that would have been like cool. I would have wanted to do that, but not anymore. For sure no.
That would be.
I skydived twice. Like that was like I would love that kind of thing.
There's no parachute on the ski
yeah,
jump.
that's true.
Though you're right. The rush would be insane.
It would be cool.
And if there was like an implied, you get a month to train for this in a safe environment, and then after a month you're gonna have to do it at the Olympics, then that ski jump could be pretty sick.
It could be.
But I don't think there's
Probably
like.
wouldn't
Do you think in a month you could get yourself to like, even if you were bad, do you think you could get yourself to be able to go down the hill, go off the ramp, fly through the air, and land safely?
I don't think the question is even if you're bad. I think the question is how well do you learn?
Yeah, that's true. No, but I mean, even if the end product after a month is last
bad.
place
Oh,
in the Olympics, do you think you could?
But you're confident that you won't kill yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think I would try it. If I was confident that, like, if I went through that month of training in a safe way, I don't know how they train for it.
Do you think that in a month of training you could get to the point that you would be safe under
Probably
Olympic
not.
ski jump conditions?
No, I don't think so. I've never been skiing, so I don't think so.
First problem:
I don't
learn
think
how to
so.
ski.
Yeah.
Oof, yeah, that's a
So-
good point. All right, let's do one more topic in then our debate club, because that
Okay.
was a pretty quick one.
That was quick.
I think a lot of these are going to be kind of quick because
Yeah.
there are a lot of what event would you blah blah blah.
Sounds good. One more than debate.
Okay, what's your favorite and least favorite events to watch? So I'll go first. I love watching. I'm going to kind of steal David's. I love watching the gymnastics during the Summer Olympics. I think a lot of the Summer Olympic sports are way more fun to watch.
Yeah.
They're, I think, a lot more fast paced. I know it sounds a little creepy to be like, I like watching the women's gymnastics, but it's true.
It's impressive.
They're incredible. Their strength to weight ratio is just
Creep.
I mean, but they're just
You
so stinking
xenophobic
impressive.
Creep.
I know it sounds creepy, but there's nothing creepy about it. I think that I'm always so impressed with how well the women's gymnastics team does on the international stage, and I mean, when they do beam and
I
things
wanna
like
pause
that,
for
there's
a
no way
sec.
that I could do that.
I think you should praise yourself a little bit more because I think it's common that men get people get upset at men for not being fans enough of women's sports, and so to call yourself a creep for being a fan it's almost unfair. Like you're darned if you do and you're darned if you don't.
You know what? You're right.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say in the least creepish way.
Yes.
I am unapologetically a fan of watching women's gymnastics. And then, look, I'll watch men's gymnastics. Like, men's gymnastics is super impressive. I just think there's like a lot of, it seems like a lot higher flying, quick activity out of those women. They do such a great job.
Yeah.
So I love watching men's and women's gymnastics, and I like watching sprint events, whether they're swimming or track. Especially during the Summer Olympics, watching those sprint swims where they're just barreling down, watching 100 free, and that race is over in 45 seconds because those dudes are just busting. Watching that 100-meter track race, especially when Usain Bolt was around, that was always
cool.
a ton of fun. How about you? I'm sorry, I've been taking up all the events.
What was the question again?
Favorite and least favorite events to watch. I'll think of my least favorite ones.
So I'll start with Winter Olympics. I actually really enjoy figure skating. I think it's a beautiful thing to. It's kind of cool. I not that I would want to do it. It's not one I would want to do, but I think it's cool, like because it's so far from something I can do.
Sure.
And so it's from that level. It's like I don't even know where to begin, and it's cool that it's choreographed It's doing something like ice skating already for me. Like I never grew up playing hockey or doing skating, so like already just the fact that they're skating is cool. Let alone the fact that they're doing flips, spins, choreographing it to a song, and then especially when they're like doing the partner figure skate, like there's another person that you could trip over their foot and like cut your neck open with a blade, and the fact that that doesn't happen is incredible.
Ever.
So I think that that's a fun one to watch.
You know what's funny, David?
Yeah.
As soon as I passed it over to you, I thought to myself, "Oh shoot, I forgot to think of a least favorite." And then I was racking my brain.
Figure skating.
And right before you said figure skating, the thought popped in my brain of my least favorite to watch is figure skating. Ice dance is worse. That's like
I don't think I've
figure
seen that
skating.
one.
It's like, you know how like there's gymnastics and then rhythmic gymnastics.
Gotcha.
It's like figure skating, ice dancing. Where
Gotcha.
It's like a less acrobatic version of figure skating. It's just a lot. To watch a whole like competition of it. You're watching all of these 2-minute long routines. You're watching other countries that you don't care about, and it's like watching a dance recital. I'm going to a dance recital that I don't want to be at.
Yeah.
Now, if I could pop in and watch the highlights and be like, hey, here's how the American team and maybe the 2 other teams that are really in strong competition, okay, I can get behind that. But if I turned on the primetime coverage and it was like, and now it's time for the couples ice dancing competition, I'd be like, I'm gonna see what else is on. That would be a channel switcheroo for me.
Yeah,
I gotta be honest with you.
So, but my favorite ones to watch for summer are obviously gymnastics, men's and women's.
Yeah. Creep. No,
yeah. but you know the men's I probably would bias slightly more only because like, once again like I'm watching them on a deeper level to just like see what they're doing because I want to do it. But then oh gosh, what was I gonna say? Oh, and then really any time that there's like just a name, like a Michael Phelps or a Usain Bolt, that'll get me to watch too. You know, like I definitely
when Apollo Ono was speed skating. Yeah,
for
I
sure.
get what you're saying.
Yeah, and like, but like I probably am not excited normally to watch sprinting or swimming, but if there's someone like that where it's like they're a legend, you know, I want to watch the legend.
Yeah, it's like you're watching a moment in history rather than just watching a sporting event.
Yeah,
100%.
For sure. So
like watching LeBron play a basketball game. All right, it's time for Debate Club.
Let's do it.
Okay. Now, this is going to be a little bit unconventional from our typical Debate Club format.
Sure.
Where, generally speaking, when we do Debate Club, we don't know the topic that we're going to be debating in advance. So not only are we unfamiliar with the topic, we're also unfamiliar with which side we're going to have to defend on that topic. Today, we did briefly discuss what the topic would be. I'll be honest, I haven't formulated an argument for either side.
We've been too engulfed in good conversation.
Exactly. So even though we're aware of what our topic is going to be today, we don't know which side we're going to be arguing. We're going to flip a coin.
You have a coin?
I do have a coin. It's an old school penny. Look at this. It's got the shield on the back. Ooh.
Nice.
This was in my shoe. Oh, it's not.
So what's the topic?
2023. So the topic is going to be which Olympic Games are better, the Summer Games or the Winter Games? All right.
Okay.
And so we're going to be arguing with each other, debating with each other, healthy debate.
There might be blood.
There might be blood. Hopefully there will be blood.
That's what people are here for.
But we're going to be arguing over which Olympic Games are better. I'm going to flip for you.
Okay.
If it's heads, you get summer.
Okay.
If it's tails, you get winter.
Deal.
All right, here we go. Reflip.
Okay, reflip.
Said heads is summer, tails is winter.
Okay, what is it?
Tails.
Tail. I'm winter.
You got winter.
Nice. I got the good one.
You know what? I think I got the good one. I got the Summer Games. Would you like to open first or close first? I'll let you choose.
I will. So if I open first, I close second. Is that what you mean by that?
Yeah, I think that's fair, right?
Okay.
Like because I think you have an advantage if you open second, and you have an advantage if you close second.
Gotcha. Okay.
So would you rather open first or close first?
I will open first so I can close second.
Cool. There you go.
Okay, I think
you
that's
get the last word in this debate.
And the first word. The first word and the bookends. I get the best situation.
You are stalling. Go ahead.
Well, look, I think the Winter Olympics. I think the Winter Olympics are better. Look, here's what's cool about the Winter Olympics.
Tell me.
Figure skating.
Look,
we got figure skating. We got bobsledding. We got snowboarding. We got cross country. We got the biathlon. Like all these really neat events. And curling, the one that you wanted to try. The top of your list of what you wanted to try was curling. That was what you chose to share. So clearly, there's.
It wasn't my favorite to watch. It wasn't your favorite to watch.
Look.
Sorry, it's your opening statement. I shouldn't be interrupting.
The question is which one is better, not which one would you rather watch. So, yeah. So I think it's really cool that the Winter Olympics bring about. It's a really cool opportunity for these athletes, frankly, with sports that aren't thought about as often. I mean, I'm not going to try to argue that more people are doing these sports and that more people are aspiring to do these sports because I think that's probably wrong. But it's better because it gets people to see things that they wouldn't normally see. It broadens their horizons of activities that they're not as attuned to. And it's really cool that people get exposed to those things. And I think that's my opening statement, is that it's a more interesting, more intriguing type of event.
Sure. I will rebut and just say I think that there are equally there are events in the Summer Olympics that if the virtue of them is not being super exposed to them. Well, there's archery. There's, there's breakdancing. There's rhythmic gymnastics. There's regular gymnastics. There's weightlifting. There's wrestling. There's all kinds of sports that are not mainstream in the Summer Olympics. Everything that you said as being a great sport, I mean, volleyball is going to be more fun and entertaining to watch than curling. Curling's I'm going to wind down at the end of the night and probably fall asleep to this. Track is more exciting than speed skating. You got swimming in the mix. You've got basketball, which is like so much fun. Olympic basketball, when watching the U.S. just dominate everybody. There's not a lot of adrenaline pumping Winter Olympic sports. Daniel Tosh does a bit. I'll paraphrase him a little bit, that he says the Winter Olympics does a good job of telling us which country has more rich white kids. It's like kind of true. Who dominates the Winter Olympics? It's like Norway, Canada, and the United States. That's what you watch. Maybe the Netherlands comes through. Whereas the Summer Olympics have sports that it's like, if you're in Norway, you can train to do the 100-meter sprint. If you're in Kenya, you can train to do the 100-meter sprint. If you're in Atlanta, Georgia, you can train to do the 100-meter sprint. If you're in Beijing, China, you can train to do the 100-meter sprint. The barriers to entry for Summer Olympic Games are much lower, and therefore it's a more challenging competition among the countries, as opposed to where the Winter Games, it's basically just a competition among the countries that have a snowy winter. You just said you would be interested to do ski jump, but you've never gone skiing, because these are all sports that it's like you have to have very specific access. You would know if you were really good at soccer because you've been able to play soccer. You would know if you were really good at volleyball because you've been able to play volleyball. Swimming, track, wrestling, all of these are sports that these are the best athletes at their sport because everybody has an opportunity to find out if they're really good. And then, just the fact, as I said, fast-paced, high-flying, fun. You're not falling asleep during any of these Summer Olympic sports. When we listed the most boring sports to watch, nobody said anything summer-related. All right, I cede over to you.
I have 2 questions for you, Benji.
Okay.
The first question is, can you share with the audience what your current jobs are?
Okay. Yeah, I am a elementary school music teacher. I am a private voice and piano instructor. I host trivia and bingo, and I am the hype man for an ice hockey team.
An ice hockey team, yep. An incredible sport.
Not one of my top 4 favorite sports.
No, but the one that you.
I love rooting for the Savannah Ghost Pirates.
Sure. Okay, so fair enough. Second question: when you think of legendary movies around the Olympics, what movies come to mind?
Munich.
I'm not being facetious. I
I was being facetious.
Okay.
It's about the Munich Olympic Games. I think there was like a hostage crisis. I've never seen it. I know what you're saying. You're trying to get me to say miracle.
Miracle, and perhaps the
Mighty
Jamaican,
Ducks?
the Mighty Ducks, perhaps the Jamaican bobsled team. I think
Okay, keep going.
No,
You're fine.
no,
I was just
if
going to
you
say
have a
the Jamaican. We can rebut at this point. The Jamaican bobsled team, that was a fish out of water story. That wasn't like, check out how awesome watching bobsled is.
But the point still is, there are more movies made around Winter Olympic sports that people are probably... I mean, there's probably Summer Olympic sport movies too, but I would guess that those two movies are better
There's
known.
a lot of basketball-related movies. They don't revolve around
the Olympics.
Olympic basketball.
Sure. But in terms of the Olympics, that's what we're talking about, is the Olympics right now.
Yeah.
So the Summer Olympics versus the Winter Olympics. We've got Miracle, an incredible story. By the way, go USA, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the Jamaican bobsled team, go Jamaica, I guess, right? And look, I think that the point that you're making is that the Summer Olympics are maybe more welcoming to more economic groups. I think I'm going to grant you that. I think that's fair. I think that there's really no debate to be had there. But I think that what the Winter Olympics offers is a diversity of sport. Like, yeah, of course, more people have tried.
I don't think there's diversity.
No,
It's all sliding down a hill.
Let me rephrase that.
Sliding down a hill faster than the other people.
That's
in 1,000 different ways.
There are fewer Winter Olympic sports, if that's the point you're making.
No, I'm saying that there are lots of them that are all the same thing. Skiing, snowboarding, bobsledding, skeleton, luge. They're all sliding down a hill faster than the other people.
They're sports.
Basketball is very different from volleyball, which is very
hockey,
different from swimming, which is
figure
very different.
skating. There's a lot of...
Okay. Those two have a lot of similarities in those two.
Okay.
Gliding along ice and sliding down a hill.
Okay, you can simplify all sports.
Do it. Go ahead. Simplify all sports to two things
Okay.
like that. Simplify summer sports to that.
Coordinated with hands and feet.
Bro.
You can't just... That's basically what you did to winter sports.
No!
You're
No,
good
it's
at going
not.
down hills and good at riding on ice. That's exactly what you did.
Okay, those also use your hands and feet. Everything in life uses your hands and feet, David. Reduce Summer Olympic sports into monoliths the way that I just did that would catch as many sports as I did with those.
I think I just did.
You could say running around a track, you could say swimming through water, and there would still be dozens of other sports that you didn't cover.
Okay, so what I'm trying to say...
What sports did I not cover, by the way, when I said sliding on ice or sliding down skating on ice or rolling down a hill, sliding down a hill.
Curling, I guess? I mean...
That's sliding on ice.
Yeah, but you're... Look, okay, fine. You're either on land or you're in water. How about that? You're saying you're
you could
either...
be flying through the air.
You're basically saying you're flying through air in the winter sports, too.
And they're not all like running around.
You basically said going down... You basically said the terrain that they're on. That's the whole point of winter sports.
No.
Yeah.
Sliding down a snowy hill for speed. Or I guess the traversing along ice.
Yeah,
but still, that might be a little bit vaguer, but...
Yeah. So I think in both Olympics you have who can finish the fastest, who can...
By the way, this was a response to your assertion that you said that there is a greater diversity of sports in winter, and I fiercely disagree with you.
I misspoke. I misspoke on that. What I said something in a way that I didn't mean. What I meant to say is that the winter sports grants more opportunity to sports that are less known. There are sports in the Summer Olympics that aren't as known, but you pointed out a lot of them are well known, and a lot of them most people have tried before in one aspect or another. Most people have not tried the Winter Olympics. It gets them to see things that they don't normally see and consider things they don't normally consider. It spotlights things that would otherwise never be spotlighted.
So it spotlights athletes who play obscure sports.
More so. And not that the summer doesn't, but I think it more so does that. And I think that's a cool thing for sports. I think
that tells me is that if those sports were more popular, they would probably have better athletes participating.
Well, there's just the point that you made earlier, there's fewer countries in the world where you have the ability to do those things. So the opportunity to even appreciate those sports isn't even there unless the Winter Olympics exists.
I've got a question for you.
Okay.
Name me an Olympic athlete.
I'm going to be honest, the only one No, it's not even by name, but the redhead snowboard guy. I don't even remember his name. You probably
No, I didn't say name me a Winter Olympic athlete. I said name me an Olympic athlete.
Oh,
and
any
you
Olympic
bent over
athlete.
backward to try to say a winter one whose name you didn't even know.
Well,
Name me an Olympic athlete, David.
I think I still proved the point you're trying to make. I thought you were specifically asking about the Winter Olympics, and the point is I only know Summer Olympic athletes. But that doesn't mean I don't know Winter Olympic sports. The claim I'm making is that the Winter Olympics is doing a better job for sport because it's broadening the horizon for sport more so than the Summer Olympics does.
The reason why you know Summer Olympics athletes and not Winter Olympics athletes is because a lot of people don't even bother to watch the Winter Olympics because the sports aren't as engaging. They aren't as exciting. They're not as heart pumping. We're watching Michael Phelps sprint down that pool while watching Usain Bolt zip around that track while watching Simone Biles fly through the air. That is compelling, must-see television. And that's why you know those people. Shaun White, who is the
White, yes. Yeah.
who is the name I will give you, and perhaps Johnny Weir as a figure skater. Yes, they have captured
Your
the
favorite.
hearts, but because of the figure skater.
Your all-time favorite.
I was like, what are you trying to say, bro? There's a very small handful of, LeBron James, Michael Jordan, equally parts, are Summer Olympic athletes. They're like the Summer Olympics are the show. That is the major leagues, and the Winter Olympics are like AAA.
Yeah, no, there was a time when they were all the same year. And I think for that reason...
When what was the same year?
The Summer and Winter Olympics used to happen at the same year. There was a time. And then they...
Gotcha. So you're not talking about like in 2022 or whatever? When they
No. I don't remember when they changed it. Maybe the early 2000s. But it was just the Olympics. It used to be at one point. And now it's the Summer and Winter.
Is that actually true?
I believe you can fact check me, but I'm pretty sure they changed it to Summer Olympics and Winter Olympics every 2 years as opposed to just the Olympics every 4 years.
So,
but the point I'm making with this is with the Winter Olympics offers is bigger marketing. Is that not true?
Like I just typed in 1982 Olympics. There was an 84 Summer Olympics. There was a 1980 Winter Olympics. So maybe every 4 years.
Maybe it used to be every 4.
Every 4 years was winter, then summer.
Oh, okay. So I had that wrong. Okay.
Instead of every
and now it's every 4 is both. But
every 4 you will have both. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. That makes. Okay. So I had that wrong. So that forget what I just said there. So I think here's what I'll grant you. I think that the Summer Olympics is like Michael Jordan, and that it brings like more people are going to be watching. But I think that what the Winter Olympics does, like LeBron James, is it's an opportunity to talk about stats that you wouldn't normally talk about. And that's the extent of that analogy. But I really I think that the Winter Olympics does more service for obscure sport, and I think that's the route I'm taking with this discussion. It does more. That's what makes it better. It does more service for obscure sport. I mean, the debate is a very vague which is better. So that's what I'm going with.
I think you tried to put me in a box of picking between Michael Jordan and LeBron James. I like what you did there.
Do you like that strategy?
It was a great strategy. I think that was a wonderful last-ditch effort to try to salvage your argument.
Because either way, either you're claiming that Michael Jordan is more legendary, or that the Summer Olympics are better.
Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and reject the premise. I'm not
We'll let the audience decide.
I'm not going to respond to the premise that Michael Jordan is the Summer Olympics. Blah, blah, blah. What I will say is I
but
think
we all know what you really think.
I think that the way that this argument has gone...
I was just poking.
Oh. I think that the way that this argument has gone has really revealed to me that you also think that the Summer Olympics are more fun. I don't think that you've put together...
Well, I just told you. I agree with what you said, that more people watch it. It's more legendary, the Summer Olympics. But that doesn't mean they're better.
I think that they're... Well, I mean...
Just to your
they
point...
They are better. It's not I think they're better.
If you think that someone who's more legendary isn't necessarily a better basketball player, Well, then I think that just because the Summer Olympics are more legendary doesn't mean that they're better than the Winter Olympics.
Your strongest argument that you've made is one compelling storyline that happened one time in one Olympics when the
miracle.
USA, against all odds, won at hockey. I will give you that. There was one compelling storyline one time.
More movies have been made about it. I'm just saying.
You don't know that that's true.
More pop culture movies have been made about it.
You still don't know that that's true. I tried.
You can fact check
I
it.
don't want to look it up. We can look it up later. But I will say, just like we could fact check that, we could fact check this assertion. I am certain that the Summer Olympics get significantly better ratings from a viewership standpoint.
Not denying that.
And
it would be foolish to deny that.
Obviously, if people are tuning in to one over the other, then the one that they're tuning in to watch is the better one. And you can consider this my closing argument.
Interesting.
If it's pulling eyes...
So if it pulls more eyes, it's better? Is that what you're saying?
From an Olympic standpoint, if we're comparing one Olympic sport versus or one Olympic
Very
competition,
how that argument works for you when it's convenient for you.
Well, if we're talking about an entertainment product. So we're not saying are the summer sports athletes better than winter sports athletes. As a sidebar, I think they are. I think if you took all of the summer sports athletes and then over here, and you took all the winter sports athletes over here, and you said, all right, we're going to do a decathlon of neutral things, the summer sports people would absolutely curb stomp the winter sports ones.
It depends. So, interesting fact. I mean, maybe that's fair to say a decathlon, but so the fittest, the cardiovascularly fittest athletes in the world measured with VO2 max, which is a cardiorespiratory measure of fitness. Cross-country skiers have the highest cardiorespiratory fitness levels over any other athlete that's measured.
I believe that.
Yeah.
I'm sure marathon runners are pretty close, which is a summer sport athlete.
They are elite, but actually still about, they might be in the 70s or 80s, and the cross-country skiers are often in the high 80s, 90s. I know that doesn't mean anything to you, but that's wildly impressive from the exercise science world.
You know what?
Yeah.
It means nothing to me.
Yeah,
but
I will say, if we're doing a decathlon, you're probably right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you said other summer sports athletes are going to compete in sports that are outside of their own, like if you said who's going to win at weightlifting, the average summer sports athlete or the average winter sports athlete, like is a bobsledder going to beat a gymnast at weightlifting? Is a bobsledder going to beat a swimmer at weightlifting? Is a bobsledder going to beat a track runner at
Here's
weightlifting?
how I would measure that, I think. Who's the better athlete? And I don't know how it would come out, honestly. Is you have them compete in both sports. And obviously the winter sports athletes are going to destroy the summer sports athlete in winter and vice versa. But how distant are they behind in the opposing? Like to say yeah, look, you can't do what I can do, but I can do what you can do closer than you can do what I can do.
Yeah, and I think summer sports will be able to do that better than
I don't know that that's true. You think that runners can...
If you had time to learn the skill. I mean, the thing is, the winter sports are weird. There are these weird snowshoeing, like they're weird, obscure sports. People aren't athletes. They're just people who have been exposed to this obscure sport since they were babies because they grew up in Norway. Cross-country skiing. Do you think that if Michael Jordan or LeBron James grew up in a cross-country skiing environment, that they wouldn't destroy the other people who are out there? No, just they didn't grow up like that.
I don't know. If we're using cross-country skiing as the example, I have a feeling that a cross-country skier would do better at running than a runner would do at cross-country skiing.
Yeah, because it's a hyper-specific thing.
Yeah, for sure. But running is a more fundamental movement for humans.
But I will say, here's what I'll say, and don't interrupt me because this is my closing speech or my closing statement, and I'll give you yours.
Okay.
That I think that in terms of watchability, which I believe could be verified by viewership, in terms of are the athletes actual athletes? Are they doing freakish human things because the sports are things that every human being on the world has access to attempt these sports, and so the best of the best are there. Every country has representation, not just the countries in the North, and just the eye test of like these. I guess I already said that it's entertaining, but okay. So in terms of entertainment and overall prowess of the athletes, I think that the summer games are untouchable. The winter games are not even close. The winter games, frankly, are a joke compared to the summer games, and if they were happening at the same time, nobody would even tune into the winter games. Go ahead.
So I think that the whole premise of this argument is vague enough that, it's I can't refute most of what you said. It's fact. More people watch the Summer Olympics. I can't refute that. But the reason I'm going to stick to the claim that the Winter Olympics are better is because it does a better service for sport. It creates more awareness around seriously. That's what the Olympics is really about. I mean, it's about bringing people together, sure, but it's also about the sport. And so like getting people to become more familiar with sports, obscure sports, for sure. I think that it does a better job of doing that and getting people thinking about moving different ways and involved. I've got the fitness background. I love people being exposed to different activities. So I think it does a better job of getting people to see unique sports.
Agree to disagree.
Yeah.
And that was a very I like the way that you advocated for awareness. Your number one luge awareness podcast right here.
Figure skating.
Summer sports are better.
And I guess, just to end on it, I'll just want to remind everybody, Benji works for a hockey team, and 2 of the most popular movies made about the Olympics are about the Winter Olympics. So, I mean, we'll just let the audience decide what that means.
Because the sports don't speak for themselves. They have to make a dramatized movie to make that sport interesting.
You can say what you want. We'll let the audience decide.
Yeah, we'll let the audience decide. Folks, go ahead and watch the Olympics, man. Enjoy, whether it's summer or winter. In 2 years, I'll be glued to the Winter Olympics. But right now, I'm going to spend the next 3 weeks watching as much Olympic coverage as I possibly can. And parents.
That camera's off, by the way.
Parents. If your kid is a super fan of a celebrity, an athlete, a musician, an actor, don't have them write their fan mail using Google Gemini like an idiot.
Or ChatGPT, or AI in general.
Or AI in general. Get out a paper, get out a pencil, and write a letter. It will mean way more to the athletes because you're not being lazy.
Yeah, and they're hearing directly from you.
Absolutely. Do you have anything else to add to this episode, David?
No, I think that was a good way to tie the bow of kind of an early conversation around that commercial, and a nice way to tie the bow. I know it doesn't really make sense. You probably don't feel this way, but tie the bow around how Michael Jordan is better. And it sounds like we all agree here about
Everyone
that.
Here agrees.
Everyone agrees. And so I think on that note, thank you for coming. We love you guys.
Yes,
Mom,
thank you for
we love
listening.
you.
Goodbye. Be nice to each other. See you soon. Cool. All right, now that I stopped it, obviously the Summer Olympics, right?
Oh, hands down. Yeah, yeah.